our regular meeting to order. And I'll start by saying a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will clarify to all who haven't heard, my eyes are dilated from the eye doctors. So if it looks like I'm going like this, I'm not falling asleep, I'm trying to read. Okay, first item up is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Which, Mike, I appreciate you filling in and running the meeting.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It went really smooth too, didn't it, guys?
Of
course.
That is good. Well, I looked them over, but since I was,
As have I, and I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
all right, we have a motion from Michael,
Second.
and Bill has seconded that. So the motion is second. All in favor of approving minutes, say aye.
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 You might want to make a note that Jack's missing today.
Oh, Jack, yes, Jack.
I know that's far away. You probably didn't see
I
it.
did, isn't that, is that Joe? All right, so yes, Jack, who we thought was gonna be here, is not today, Jack White, so. All right, let's get right into new business. Public hearing confirming resolution 2024. That's what I'm gonna.
11:01.
1101.
Yes, so what we started last month with the initial resolution to amend the Northern TIF District's plan to include in the acquisition list Applied Thermal's property. Has now went through the Plan Commission with its approval. The Plan Commission approved their resolution, which went to the council for the council's approval, and now back to you for your final approval in adding Applied Thermal to the acquisition list within the Northern TIF District. So this first resolution is just amending that plan to add it to the acquisition list. Once that's done, then we'd move on to the other two. This is a public hearing, so it has to be open to the public for any comment. But all we're doing with this resolution is just adding Applied Thermal's property to the acquisition list.
Chairman, was there any discussion at the council meeting, and I did miss the last meeting, was there any opposition from council perspective, or did they unanimously?
I don't think there was any opposition. I think they were trying to understand the process. For some of them, I think this is new to them. But in general, what I explained to them was step one is acquiring or adding it to that acquisition list. Step two would be acquiring and then disposition. And the purpose of this project is they had come to me 4 or 5 months ago and said, hey, we're going to make some improvements out here. The property's in the city limits, but there's no water. They're going to put in a private water system for their manufacturing and their fire needs. They currently operate, because of the number of employees, they currently operate what would be classified as a public water system because they have so many employees and you have to do water testing and all of that. So there's some costs associated with that. At the time, I said, we want to facilitate future development and growth in this area. Would they be willing partners in extending Indiana American Water up to their property? And he said yes. So he did some research on what his costs were going to be to put in his own water system. We did some research on what the cost would be to build the water line up to and around his property. And the difference amounted to $300,000. So he could do what he needed to do for $300,000. And the total project to put water there was $600,000. At that point in time, I agreed that we would participate to the $300,000 mark, so that basically he gets the water he needs, and we get the expansion of the water system that opens up some development on the east side to the north, as well as provide water to other individuals out there that may need it, so that they can get off of wells.
Where did the water line run from? Was it west of there?
It ended right at the intersection of 200 and Husky Trail, so it was at that intersection. So pretty significant. I think it's about 1,200 feet that we're running this water line. So that's how we got here, and the method to do that, the easiest method to do that is through the property acquisition process, which we did with Danco, similar. Theirs was a gas problem, his is a water problem, so our participation would be through the acquisition of property.
Well, you will save quite a bit of money treating city municipal water at 20 grains of hardness than it would be, that well water out there would have to be.
Chairman, I'm sorry if this has been answered, but how much more footprint, if you will, in the in the industrial park out there does that open up for development as far as water?
Well, it makes it easier for him to expand his business. The long-term intent for them, I think, is as they continue to grow, they want to add on to their business. But in order to do that, as your buildings get bigger, you run into different fire codes. And different fire codes require different sprinkler system, different pressurization, bigger wells,
Volume,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. So they were kind of running up against that wall in terms of what their future growth was going to be based on operating their own private water system. By doing this, that opens it up to a lot easier to develop that property. There is another property on the corner that I think is underutilized that could be a higher use at some point. It now would have sewer and water. And then there's property north that would have access to this water, and then property to the east that would have access to that water that they did not have before.
Got it. Thank you. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So we,
Should we open up the public?
yeah.
Yes, you have to open it up for public.
So at this time, we'll open it up, the public hearing portion of this. Is there anyone here to speak about this project, for or against? Comments? I hear none. So we will close that portion, the public hearing portion of that. And any other comments or questions for Jeremy about this confirming resolution? It is good to know that, to Joe's point, the money we put in the water line, hopefully it helps develop that property out there, because it will make it more attractive that someone that wants to come in and needs a lot of water for manufacturing or something. It surely makes sense to have water there.
Oh, yeah, and the other side of it that I went into a little bit with the council in my memo, but right now, all of Pound Drive has no fire hydrants. So if you were to go out on Pound Drive and fight a fire, you have no hydrant. After this project, there will be hydrants available that they could tie in to fight some fires out in that area. There's still going to be portions of Pound Drive that will not have any fire hydrants, but this will, 1,200 feet of water line will certainly give you more. That'll be roughly probably 3 fire hydrants, because I think they're every 400 feet in commercial, industrial. So, yeah, it'll increase our ability to protect buildings out there as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy, it's a win-win.
Yep.
We get what we want, they get what they want, everybody's happy. I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-11-01.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike.
Second.
Second. All right, Bill has seconded. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. Now we'll move on to approving 2024-11-02, approving the real estate acquisition for Applied Thermal.
Yeah, so the next step is to approve this resolution, which approves the authorization to acquire the property as part of this acquisition and disposition. So this resolution just gives us the authority to acquire it. And then the following resolution will give us the ability to dispose of that property.
And that would be effective how soon after if we were to pass that?
I believe they've already done the advertisement, but I think there's so after this is done, an advertisement, and I think it's like 30 days or something to that effect, 30 to 45 days, and then we'll close on the property. And there's not an actual closing, because we're basically in material buying and disposing of the property per the statute, so it doesn't necessarily change hands per se. But that is the means for us to get the $300,000 into the project.
Is this the second reading of this, Jeremy?
No.
Doesn't need a second.
It's a resolution.
Yeah,
Right,
it's a resolution.
It's a resolution. But I just saw a date here of October 7th.
That's the initial resolution we adopted that started this process, was October
Okay.
7th. Yep.
I didn't, okay. Got it.
So Jeremy, we have sole authority to approve this. We don't have to send this back.
The next stages of this only gets
Involve the
done here.
redevelopment.
Only involve the
Okay.
redevelopment commission, yes.
I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-1102.
Okay, we have a motion by Joe,
Second.
and Bill has seconded the motion, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
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 Those against? Okay, motion carries. All right.
The final resolution, Resolution 2024-1103, would be approving the transfer or disposition of the property back to Applied Thermal. So in theory, we advertise saying you're going to build an X amount of building, employ 50 people at a wage of blank. No one bids on it, which then allows us to dispose of the property back to them after acquiring it for $300,000. Much like the other projects we've done, this is just the method to get that money into the project.
Any questions about resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-1103.
Okay, Bill has made a motion to approve this,
I'll second.
and Mike has seconded it. We have a first and a second. So, may I do I hear all in favor say yay?
Yay.
Yay.
All against say nay. No nays, so it's been approved. And, this is for the Petro Drive water main, speaking of water main extensions.
Yes, so as part of our contribution to the apartment project that was being built, we were connecting the two segments of water line on Petro Drive, on either end of Petro Drive. The water line exists. We're going to connect the two pieces in the middle down Petro Drive, and eventually, hopefully, within the next 3 to 4 months, we will reconstruct that Petro Drive, and it'll be a road as well. But the initial step is that water main extension. I had them open the bids at the previous Board of Works meeting. We only had one bid, but the bid was a good bid. It was receptive, and it was below the engineer's estimate, and that bid was for $84,702. So we would accept that bid, and then we could enter into an agreement for the work. Yeah, and James, the engineer, James Emmons, the former city engineer that we hired to do this work, has reviewed this bid and made his recommendation to award as well.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you get one bid, you want to
Yep.
look at it, you know, not with rose-colored glasses, but it's a reputable firm, and then you have James looking it over, and it came in lower than estimate, so we surely felt good about it at the Board of Works.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we wish we get more bids every time, but sometimes getting more bids is not necessarily a great thing either. So unfortunately, there's only one bid, but the bid was responsive, and it was significantly within the range of the cost of the project.
Yes.
Jeremy, I'm sure it's somewhere in here. Who is the bidder?
Oh, sorry, G&G is the bidder. My
Yeah,
apologies.
G&G was.
They were the only bidder on the project.
Okay. I assume it's in here somewhere.
Page 5, yeah,
Yeah,
Page 38 too, Joe.
All right, fair enough.
yeah.
yeah. So G&G's bid was for $84,702. The engineer's estimate for the project was a little over $107,000. That's what he had estimated for the project. So on the third to last page or second to last page, the engineer's estimate is on there. The opinion of cost was $107,070. The bid came in at $84,702, so a 21% below what the engineer's estimate was.
It's a good amount.
Yeah. So if there's no more questions, I will entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to award the bid to G&G.
okay, Bill has made a motion to approve the bill as presented to G&G,
I'll second.
and Mike has seconded that. So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, it's passed unanimously.
Jeremy, where does that put the project now, having that? What does that allow, or is that just a completion of an obligation, or?
A little bit of both. It was a completion of obligation that we made to them for the project, but it's also a requirement Indiana American Water had on the project was to make that connection. So it had to be done one way or the other. So that's infrastructure that we committed to putting that water line in and building that road that will connect the two. But they've been under construction, so I think for the last 6 months or so, well, probably longer than that, 8, 9 months, they needed to clear out of that space where the water line's going to go. So as their construction progressed and they were able to move their stuff out of that space, now we can put that water line in, and then we'll come back and pave the road once that water line's done.
Perfect, thank you.
Next is spending report.
So next is the agreement for that work.
Oh,
So
for that work.
Since we awarded the bid, so now we can enter into the contract with G&G Hauling for $84,702 to complete that water line work as well.
All right, so we will need a motion for that.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mike's made a motion to approve the agreement,
I'll second.
and Joe has seconded it. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay. All right. We have that passed again. And now we have the annual spending plan report.
So the state has required another report on redevelopment commissions because we don't have enough reports, but I'm not entirely sure what the point of this is, but basically you have to submit a spending plan by December the 1st. That's going to say every dollar you're going to spend next year. So you're going to look at this and say, oh, there's a lot of money in there. Well, yeah, because we put every dollar in there, regardless of whether or not we're going to spend it or not, because once they approve it, you can't, so every time I have going to spend $1 more, I got to come back and amend this plan. So rather than do that, there's a lot of inflated numbers in here in terms of potential spending. But so all the money that would be expended out of the Redevelopment Commission is in this report for next year, whether we spend it or not. And there's different categories that they wanted it labeled in. So you can see grants and contributions, which we don't have any money that we're spending out of that. See professional expenses, which would be legal, accounting, surveying, which is the $770,000. Police and fire, which we don't have any expenditures out of there. Employment expenses, military base, we don't have a military base. So just all these different categories, you can look down through there and see all of the categories. The big ones are the one I want to kind of key in on is we have a bond issue we're about to do close on, which is the GACI bond, which we'll be closing on in the next 2 weeks. I think end of November is when we expect, or somewhere around the end of November is when we expect those bonds to be closed. And then we have, so that money will probably be spent out mostly in 2025. Keep in mind, this is for 2025 too. And then we have another bond we plan to issue that has to do with the Millworks project. So I've added some capital in there to try to cover that bond issue as well. So that is at $5 million. Whether or not we spend $5 million is going to depend on what we get in those bond proceeds. But in this case, I've estimated high so that we can cover any bond issue that would be issued in 2025. Property tax levy, expenditures from that is $292,180. The front page has all of the bonds that we currently have, and the outstanding debt payment on that is $1,277,887. The capital expenditure is every capital dollar we've committed to the 2025 budget, which sits at $5,145,000. So those are kind of the big expenditures. It has a total, which is $12.5 million. Highly unlikely we will spend $12.5 million, but that gives us the flexibility next year as projects evolve. This will get submitted to the state December 1st, or by December 1st.
That is a new report, you said.
This is a new report requirement. Most of this is already in our report that you get in April. So I don't know that you're really receiving anything new here, but it just makes you put, like in the report you get in April is a budget report. This is just saying I'm going to spend everything in my budget, which never happens, but that's basically what they want done, I guess, is say we're going to spend every dollar in our budget. I would venture to guess on any given year we probably spend somewhere around 60 to 70% of what we budget. It depends on what projects come and go. Like this year, we had budgeted for Anchorage Road. That project didn't happen, so there'll be a significant amount of capital that doesn't get spent this year. But then that money will move into next year's budget when it will get bid out. So it's kind of a hit and miss sometimes. We budget for the projects in the years that we think we're going to accomplish them. Sometimes that it works out, sometimes it doesn't. This plan will be presented to the council at its next council meeting, and then I will submit it to the state.
Okay, so you're not looking for...
I don't know that you need to, but it's very unclear, so I would just say, have a vote and say, yeah, we accept this spending plan and its submission to the state.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't say what you are or aren't supposed to do, so,
Yeah, it didn't, I don't think it said it in the memorandum.
no.
So the council won't have to take any formal action either?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I just need to present it to you and the council, but in lieu of there being some rule that I don't understand, I would just assume you vote and say we accept this spending plan, and that way I have it in the minutes.
Jeremy, what do you suppose the reason they wanted this in lieu of that other report, or I should say in addition to the annual report?
I think the reason they wanted it was for Section D, grants and contributions. Section F, police and fire, probably some of G, which is employment expenses. I think they wanted ammunition to be able to say, see, they're using this money for these types of
Yep.
expenditures. So
So
once
that's
they
not
get all
broken.
these reports, they'll be able to look and tally all
Those
those.
uses aren't broken down in the annual report?
No,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, it just says capital projects, right? But it doesn't say what type of capital project.
Yep.
So if I'm building a fire station or buying a piece of fire equipment or police equipment or whatever it may be, it does not say in the budget. It'll just say capital equipment. It'll just say equipment, capital projects, whatever. So I believe that's the reason why they've broken this report down in this fashion, is so that they can isolate specific items things are being spent on. And the big ones being that D, I think, is like you got grants or loans to enable eligible low-income individuals and families to purchase or lease residential units. It's a convoluted way of trying to figure out a total amount that's being spent on things that they don't necessarily agree with.
So I would just make a motion that we accept the accuracy of this report as a body.
Yeah, that's good. So we have a motion by Joe to accept the validity of the report that Jeremy has prepared.
I'll second.
Michael seconded that. All in favor, say aye. Did I hear an
Our
aye?
school board member thinks that we didn't
at
put
least throw
enough
a
money
vote
in
in
for them.
Well,
$1, I mean, come on.
I'll tell you that's the part of the reason why we're doing this is because there's a group of state representatives that do not feel that there should be any money going to the schools. So they want to
They want to see if
tally
you're
that.
doing that,
They want to
yeah.
tally that money because they know that it's happening.
They're trying to restructure all the finance
Yeah.
on schools.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Again,
You're right. This is just watchdog, all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, probably is. Well, we do have a motion and a second, so should we, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Against? Okay. Brad, you can just nod. Okay, well, we got that done, and now approval of claims. Quite a few claims in there.
Yeah, there's a few, none that are too different. The first three are for Marsh Utilities, so Indiana American Water, $235.97. Another Indiana American Water, $163.49. NIPSCO, $52.18. The next two, A&Z Engineering, are for the ongoing engineering for the roundabout at County Road 200 North and Husky Trail. Barnes and Thornburg for $7,940 is for ongoing Warsaw Chemical and Applied Thermal Legal Services. Prince Land Surveying, $5,700 is for the Warsaw Chemical Project. Fort Wayne Newspaper, that's for our subscription to the newspaper, $179.40. Bank of New York, $300,000. That's our semi-annual sewage bond payment. So we pledge towards the sewage bond. We pledge $600,000 per year. This is different. I think we talked about it the last time I paid the $300,000. Historically, up until a year or up until the last refinance of the bonds, we would just make one $600,000 payment at the end of the year. When those bonds were restructured, that changed to two $300,000 payments. So one in summer, April or June, and then one in November. So that $300,000, it has not changed. It's still our $600,000 obligation to the sewage bonds, but it's being broken out into two payments. DLZ, $19,100 for the airport park design. West Hill Development, $42,000 for shell build lease. And then Kedco, $300 for Peak Med office space. And then there's one add-on for mowing property on Buffalo Street, $600.
Okay, so there is one.
I added it to each of your packet and it's updated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's on there.
The DLZ was the airport park what?
Design. Yeah.
Did he flag the Prince, the Warsaw Chemical, there are a bunch of flags out there?
Probably. They might
Yeah, I'd
have
like
the
to.
utility flag.
I'd like to see setbacks and stuff. That's
They
great.
usually stake them.
Yeah.
I did not go out to see if it was staked, but
Yeah,
the biggest was provide the legal descriptions for the closing.
yeah,
It's an Alta survey, so
yeah.
has all that fun stuff.
Just go out with it. Any other questions about any of the claims that Jeremy has presented? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims unless people have questions.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
Okay, Bill has made a motion to approve the claims,
A second.
and Joe has seconded that, so we have first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay. All right, it's passed unanimous. Now, other business.
I don't have any other business, but I can give you some updates. Gacky's financing is going to close this week on Wednesday. He's closing on his financing for that project. Our bond will close a couple of weeks after that, so end of November, we'll close on that bond. I think his hope is to start work this year and get some stuff in the ground before it freezes. We're also working towards Millworks financial package, so hoping that maybe we can get that closed before the end of the year, and they may start work on Millworks as well. So those two projects are going well. Close to closing on the Warsaw Chemical, just waiting for the financing to come through.
And it's doubtful we have the second meeting this month, right?
Yeah, unless something comes up, I don't know that we'll need it.
We'll get emails if for some reason we need to meet on the
Yep.
18th, but probably not. Anything else to come for Jeremy? Thank you for attending. Do you have any questions? No. Can you answer some questions if we ask them? So my eyes are dilated, I came to see you. I hope this goes away. Can I go to dinner tonight? Or I look like
You
a
can
zombie?
eat. I've never known you to not eat. Jeremy, thank you for your diligence on all this.
Yeah,
I know how these dates, and you've mentioned how busy you've been, and these are very complicated matters that, along with our vendors, we're able to really move ahead and do great things, and we're getting there. I appreciate it. There's a lot of steps, and thank
There's
you.
a lot of steps, yeah.
Hats off to you.
Thank you.
I'm sure you needed that little extra report to keep you
Yeah.
busy, give you something.
Give me something to do.
Well, thanks for your hard work. All right, well, if I hear,
Make a motion to adjourn?
we have a motion and a second.
Who was the second?
Bill, this meeting is adjourned.
I usually click on that draw on our school board meeting.
It's time. All right.